There we go. Mac, what's happening, mate? Thank you for coming on.
All right, mate. Thanks very much for having me.
No problem, mate. No problem. Look, I wanted you to come on for numerous reasons, but how's things you? How are you keeping?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Like it's just the last push here of my final year here at
Yeah.
uni. So after that, I'll be able to relax a wee bit.
So if
So,
anybody that doesn't know what are you doing at uni at the minute?
uh, business studies with marketing from McGee at Ulster.
And how are you enjoying that? All good?
Yeah, I mean it's all right. Like it's not. It's a bit. It was a safe option to pick, to tell you the truth. Um, it was safe, like, but sure, it's near over anyway. Like, you know what I mean. So no point complaining about it now. Like,
Happy days. So you've seen out the first couple of years. Now it's just a case
yeah.
of getting over the line. So that's all good. No, look, Mac. I was chatting to you before we came on and give you sort of why I wanted you on, and the whole idea behind this podcast is to behind the scenes. So I like what you've done over the years. I've been your mate for years. I've been your mate since as long as I can remember, but you've always done things differently, like always done things differently. And anybody that knows you will agree with that. Anybody that knows Mac will say Mac does things differently. Like for one thing, his name's Jamie. His name's Jamie, but he doesn't like being called Jamie. He's
Uh,
never been called Jamie, so he's changed his name the Mac, basically. Not changed it officially, but I don't think it's official, is it? It's just Facebook and stuff.
no, it's not. No, no, it's just
every
in social media.
everybody just calls you Mac. Like everything you've done over the years has been different. Like even charity about from an early age, you supported Liverpool like very, very young because like we all do. I know my dad supported United. I supported United. Your dad supported Liverpool. That's why you did. But
Yeah,
instantly, well, not instantly, but really early, you changed to Spurs. No one else was a Spurs fan. Like nobody else really
no,
knew was a Spurs fan. And we used to
no.
wind you up. We used to wind you up, but it was just because you wanted to be. Well, what was your reason for that? And why did you want to change from Liverpool to Spurs?
Because it wasn't my team. It was my dad's team. So for me, watching them, like I had no real see connection. Like so, if somebody asked me, like, why did you support them? I was just like, because my dad does. But I don't think that's a proper reason. So so obviously you know the reason why I support Spurs was because I was playing like Xbox at the time. And this is when Spurs had like Luka Modric, Van der Vaart, all these players. And I set up like so I used to be Spurs all the time. And I was playing with them. Then I began to watch them on match of the day and stuff. And this is when like Redknapp was there, maybe a wee bit earlier than that, maybe one day Ramos, stuff like that. And I was watching them and I was like, you know what? I really like them. And then for my 8th birthday, maybe, I got a kit with see Jeremy and the phone in the back. And I was like, oh, like I love that kit or blah blah blah. And then ever since then, I just decided, like I said to my dad, and I was just like, look, like I don't support them. And he was like, why? And he was I was just like, I just don't like I support Tottenham now. And then he's just like, right, okay. And then ever since then,
Class,
I
man.
just supported them.
But I think I like for that age. What age were you say you're 7 or 8? Like 7 or 8 to
Yeah,
think that at 7 or 8, like that's crazy because at that age you're not making them decisions. I wasn't making them decisions. None of our mates were making decisions like that. None of our mates were going, "This isn't my team." Nobody actually knew that. Like I think you just whoever you supported, and for you to such a young age to think, this isn't me. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this because somebody else wants me to, and that's literally lived the whole way throughout. We're still only young. We're 21, but
yeah,
for 21 years, you've changed everything you've done's been different. Like I mean, literally everything. We're going to talk about some of those things, and it's been so interesting. And again, for you to think, I'm not even going to ask you what were you thinking specifically because I'm sure you don't remember, but it was just sort of something that bedded into you. Like you've bet that's been in for from no age. You wanted to be different. You wanted to do things a little bit differently. So if I asked you, like, why do you think you wanted to be different? Like, I know we've said obviously about Spurs because it wasn't your
yeah.
team, but is there something, was there another reason? Maybe was it because everybody in school was supporting Liverpool and United, and you wanted to be that one to support your own team? Maybe it was a case of because you supported them, and if they won something, not that they ever did, but if they won
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
then you could
yeah.
have that edge over everyone. Was there something like that? Was there a wee bit of like a hidden drive behind it?
I think when I was younger, like I always wanted to be not like everybody else, but I didn't do it I didn't set out to be like, because like I wouldn't class myself as out there, you know, like I don't see go out of my way to be like, oh look at me, I'm so different. I think it's just if something doesn't feel right, I'm not going to do it. It's as simple as that. And I just felt that I know this is a simple thing to say, and it's a football team, but it's more as you've painted to me now. It was like the beginning of like a pattern. But for me, it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't to get an edge. So when they won the League Cup and all, like I didn't really know because I was about 8 and maybe 9, 10. I can't really put my finger on it, but like I was like, like I wasn't like celebrating it or being like, yeah, United did win because United won everything. Liverpool reached the Champions League final and all that there stuff. So it had nothing to do with that. It was really just it didn't feel right. Like it wasn't my choice. So I wanted to choose a team who I supported.
Class, man. I absolutely love that, and I think what both what I touched on and what you sort of backed me up on was it was just a start or something, and yeah, Spurs just to reiterate, Spurs didn't win much. Like you got your league, you got your League Cup, and like that's the thing that got me. You could have easily went and supported, I don't know, like Chelsea or something. Because there was a couple of lads in our class I can remember in primary school lad. Like we've been obviously primary school the whole way up, and there was a couple of lads that supported like say United, they moved to Chelsea, or maybe like Liverpool, United, and all this here, but you didn't. Like it wasn't as if you went from. I suppose Spurs are still a big club, but they weren't winning anything. You know what I mean. That's not me having to go, but they weren't. Like it wasn't as if it was a glory hunting. Because you seen lads who went from like United to Barca. Like, come on, mate, wise up. Just because Barca won the Champions League and Messi's banging 40 a season, you're going there. So it was nothing to do with that, which is interesting. And something you said there was like you just know if it feels right. And is that just sort of like a gut feeling, or is it because you've experienced things like that past, or what sort of feeling is that?
It's just sort of like if it's forced, like if I'm forcing it, then it just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? So I feel like obviously there's some things that like you have to force, to push it through. But there's other things where you don't have to force it. And if you force it, I think it's almost faking it at times. Like supporting a football team, just say in broad terms, shouldn't be forced. You know what I mean? Like it should just be natural. Like it should just be normal. It's like saying, you're forced to like this girl, so everybody else like fancies this one girl, so you have to fancy her. But if you're forcing it, then you don't like her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
You know what I mean?
I love that. I love that. It's like I don't support Rangers anymore for that reason. The reason I don't support Rangers is
Yeah.
because when we were growing up, and I don't like you support Rangers either, so you don't.
No, no, I don't know.
I don't support Rangers because I was forced to support Rangers, not by my dad or not by this. Like, obviously, my family went and watched Rangers matches when we were younger, and because I support Rangers, that's fair enough. But every single one of our mates are Rangers, this, Rangers, that. And I just
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to support Rangers because of that reason. And it was almost because it was forced on my throat. I actually found something earlier. It was over in the garage. I found a thing from P6. No, I think it was I have a funny feeling it's P4. It was one of the P4, P5, or P6, something around that. And it was like a thing we had to do about all our mates. And it was a photo of me, you, TL, Lee, Lukey, a couple of others maybe. And then we had to put a bit about who our mates are. But that was really it with our mates, but more about ourselves. And I put down my favorite player was Davy Weir. Davy Weir. I love Linfield, and I love Man United. And then I put like Amir Khan as a favorite boxer and all. But either way, like I looked at that and going like that was me because everybody else, your environment is so
Yeah.
like everybody else is supporting Rangers. By the way, I have nothing against Rangers. I love seeing like Rangers won the league this year, happy days, but I don't support them because it was breathed down my throat from such young age. People are religious Rangers fans, but I suppose it can be kind of in the reverse side. Maybe Man United was sort of thrown down my neck. I don't know, but either way, I sort of just used that because I know I kind of can see where you're coming from, definitely. And something I always talk about, like, and something not always talk about, but something I always go by is my instinct. Your gut feeling always tells you the right. And you've said that yourself a couple of times there, but has there ever been a time where you've decided to go against your instinct and has it backfired, or maybe there's not been? Has there ever been times like that?
To go to uni away because I'm naturally shy person. I don't put myself out there. Um, I don't really put myself out there social media wise, this that. But like I went to uni and like you have to put yourself out there because like you're virtually unknown.
Yeah.
So for you to get by, like you sort of have to make mates. And my gut feeling was, um, I could stay at home, maybe make it a bit easier. But actually, a time like I'll touch on a time where I went against it was I got accepted the LJMU in England, see the Liverpool, but I didn't go for that reason.
Class.
So almost so I went against the gut feeling of of at home, but I also took the easy option out to remain in the country but not live at home, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Class. Class.
Yeah,
So
yeah, so I sort of went sort of back on my word, but I put myself in the position to where like I forced myself out of the house, if like you know what I mean.
yeah. So you stepped outside your comfort zone. I mean,
Yeah.
I always say this, and I almost get bored of saying it, but it's so true. Like, say if you're doing things that almost scare you, that's when you're going to grow. So, do you think your last 3 years of uni has sort of because, like, let's be honest, you like you said, you've it's not like I've known you well. It's not as if you're unsociable. Like if I can talk away to you, you can talk away to the lads. And if you're in a group of people, you know, you'll be one of the loudest ones within our group, if that makes sense. Obviously it's not a big group, whatever, but you never be on social media, whatever else. But do you think going to uni has kind of brought you into that a little bit more or
No, because again, it feels forced.
right? Okay.
Again, because you know, like I'm not just going to post because everybody else posts, and it's more of like it made me see go out a lot more. Yeah, it made me sociable, but there was times where then maybe like if I didn't feel like it, I wouldn't do it. So if everybody was out, like I was sat on PlayStation, like with my mates back home,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because or I just would have stayed in my room. But one thing that it did make me do was work a lot harder. It made me surrounding myself and stepping out of my comfort zone with a lot of people that's off the same sort of, if not more educated than me, made me raise my game, which helped me. And it also made me like speak a lot more to people and conduct myself in a more professional way.
Class, mate. You know, it's not as if you've been. I was just about to say that because maybe people listening to this right now, like the way we have sort of portrayed it, you've always made the easy options. It's not been that. Like it's not as if you've always made an option to, take the easy road. You've made things that may seem that are actually a little bit more difficult, but you see the reward. You see the bigger reward. And
Yeah,
going to uni, and you've said that. Like a couple of things you said there, which I would like to touch on, is you surround yourself with people who are striving for better. And I think that's our most like that's the best thing we can do. Honestly, I think that's the best thing we do.
yeah, 100%.
Something that I try to do every single day is just surround myself with people. Now that might not be physically talking. Like there's people that I probably spend most of my time listening to, and I haven't spoken to them once in my life. Like podcasts, I listen to amount of people, or I'm actually listening to David Goggins at the minute. I think he's a madman, by the way. He's absolutely nuts, and I take his stuff with a pinch of salt. But I do love his sort of ambition. I love his passion. I love everything, like everything he does. He ran for like 24 hours straight, and I think he shit himself like 4 times, and his liver's failed. It made everything happen to him, like mad thing. But obviously, I'm not going to do that. But the things I listen to it every day, his books like 12 hours long, and I think that's as well. Surround yourself with better people. Like that's people that are that are obviously at a higher level. So once you surround yourself with those people, you said it yourself, but did your game automatically rise? Were you forced to rise? Because I know you say you don't like being forced, but were you forced to rise there?
Um, the right. See you back home. Obviously, and a lot of people like me back home. I didn't like to go out or to go out and drink and this and that, but it was more for a financial reason. One big change that I went to uni and I see myself was I stopped. Um, I didn't say go out because of finances. I didn't go out because I had to work harder. So I almost as bad as it sounds, like I viewed every one of my class and my mates as competition because we're all doing the same course, all going for the same job. Therefore, from me in Lisburn, surrounding myself with maybe one or two people that's at A levels, and me being like, oh, like I'm not, like I don't need to work, but I'm not I'm not gonna be away the limelight tonight because I'm not gonna spend the money to me going to uni and not going out because I'm surrounded by people who I view as competition.
Love it.
So I'm not on my way out tonight, or I won't go out because I have coursework to do, and I need that first over somebody else, or I need, you know what I mean.
Class me that. I
So
think that
that was the massive change that I seen in myself anyway.
I think that's fascinating. I really do, and I love that. I do something similar myself. Small things like I just like having competition. Mate, I always want to be first. Like I always want to be first. Now, the what I'm doing at the minute, personal training is different. Like there's a lot of great, like unbelievable personal trainers from our area. There's a lot of great personal trainers in the UK, but I love seeing what they're doing and trying to better it. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
not taking anything bad off them because they're great, and those guys have been in the game a lot longer than me. But it's a little bit of competition, and it's not it's not a visual. Like I don't care about who gets more likes, I don't care about this and that, but it's just a little bit of competition. It's almost just like a kick up the hole you need sometimes. And for you
yeah,
to say,
massively.
for you to look at those people who are working hard, like there's something I do every morning. I get up. I like to be up before anybody, and I go for a walk. When I come back from a walk, I'll do all the stuff in the morning. Up at 6 or before 6, I'm going for a walk. Before I come back, I'm posting on social media every morning. I'm posting on social media. Why? Because I feel like that's going to get people seeing my stuff. I can help them 100%. Like I know if I'm putting something up, a little tip, like say for example, something that can help my weight loss or whatever it might be. People see that and go, well, "There's Tyler Stone giving a nice tip that helps them for today." Whereas another competitor might not be doing that. And I don't like using competitor because it's not that. But the reason that I like doing that is because I feel like other people aren't. And over the years, if I keep on this compound effect, that's going to better me, and more people's going to see that. And it's just about getting those daily habits. So was there any daily habits? Because you've obviously said that you said obviously you upped your game. So what
Yeah.
habits did you use? Did you bring anything in daily? Was there anything you done differently?
At last year, obviously before the pandemic, because obviously now like I live at home again. But I didn't have a routine. I went to lectures just whatever time they were. So each day would have been maybe one day 11, one day 8, one day, you know what I mean? Not their way. But since I came home, I've definitely got like a routine in place, 100%. I do have a routine in place where I get up. So I I get up in the morning. I'm like you. I go out. I take a walk in the mornings.
The
Then I
blue.
come back. I I will nurture my dog. So I got the dog. They'll basically give me a responsibility.
Good, mate. I don't think anybody
Yeah,
else.
you know what I mean. So the dog was there as a responsibility. So I have to get up in the morning, attend to him, walk him, bring him back, sit for maybe a bit, talk about football, say to my granddad or whatever. Then go into my seat in the living room and work until and until maybe until I need to walk a dog again. So then I get out, walk a dog again, come back and then work right up to maybe that Champions League game, or whether like the Premier League, I either watch one or the other, the 6 o'clock or the 8 o'clock or the quarter past 8, one or the other. Then if there's no league match on, or the European matches, I'll just work just right through.
Class. And
So
your dog, I don't think anybody at our age has their own dog, like literally their own dog. Most people have a family
yeah,
dog. Like I have a family dog, or well, thought emotion stop. I had a family dog, and a lot of people have dogs in their house, but it's not their dog. But this is actually your dog. You look after it. And you told me a story where you were out one night, and then you were out on that at uni, and you came home the
I
next morning about 3 hours later to walk the dog. You get into bed about 5:30, then you're up the next morning about 7 to come down, which is less than a 3 hours, but that's crazy. And you talked about football there, and you've talked about watching football every night. I love doing that too. There's a reason why I love it. It's a switch on but switch off. Does that make sense? Because you're switching on the football, you're watching football, you're not thinking of, well, you're usually not thinking about work or whatever it might be. I love my work, I love what I do. And is football for you like a switch off but switch on, if that makes sense?
Um, like I'm a very simple person. I know that sounds bad, but it would maybe be my only interest. That tell you the truth, like my real key interest. And one thing, as I got older, like I didn't like playing it.
Yeah.
Simply, I didn't like playing it. And again, you could say you know, I went against everybody else. At 16, I pulled the plug. I was like, nah, I'm not playing no more. I don't like it. But watching it, like I could watch it all the time. Now, I'm not like one of these boys that would watch League One or League Two or whatever. Like I love the Premier League and the Champions League, and that's it. So every Premier League game I would try to watch. I
Yeah.
would. And find the Champions League, like any English team or any massive game, I'd watch. But yeah, it would be my key interest.
You know, like you said there, it's something that you've done. Or sorry, when you stopped football at that age, like I remember. But there's so many things, mate. There's like literally so many things we can touch. There's so many rabbit holes we can go down of things you've done differently, and something simple like stopping football, like and. When you didn't drink as well, I can remember looking at you going, "Why is he not drinking?" Like I was
Yeah,
cracking up. I was like, "What? Why? What have you got to look forward to?" And it's only now that I realize I don't drink anymore. I realize what you seen, like why you don't do it. And I always used to go, "Why is he not drinking? He's a bore." But the reality is, I was probably the bore. You know what I mean? I was probably the bore who thought that you couldn't drink, or not because it's not that you didn't drink, but you very rarely did. Like you very rarely. We would have been
yeah,
drinking every weekend, but you would have had something different to do, something that you enjoyed more. Which again, it's just going against the grain. And with football, was that a big decision when you had to stop, or was that something you just went, nah,
no,
just
no, it wasn't. Like it wasn't at all because it was like it wasn't very good, right? So first of all, I didn't matter. And me watching football all the time, like I got in my head that I was some sort of, like I know how to play it and I know what makes a good player. So I just looked at myself. I seen more weaknesses than what I seen good, you know what I mean? So I thought, nah. And I was injured all the time. I never got a run in any team, never done nothing. So I thought, you know what it is? Fine. This is this is a simple decision, really.
max through.
And and then it sort of like helped me. It was a way for me to take something out. So that then freed me up Tuesday, Thursdays, and a Saturday to do what I wanted as well. Because almost football was forced on you as a child. Yeah, no, everybody knows. Yeah, you get brought down by your granddad, your dad, your uncle, your mom, or whatever, and you're like said to play, and you're like, oh, your granddad or your dad or whatever would be like, oh, like they would go and watch, But if you don't like it, why do it? So I was just like, nah. So it was a pretty easy decision. See, to tell you the truth, like,
See, I would argue and say you were a decent player. Like I think you were a decent player. And watching you, remember Balmackay that sort of season, where we were all the young, like we were the young lads playing for the club. I think I was signed for somebody else. Like I was playing for, I was playing for somebody. I was playing for Balmackay, as a bit of crack. But you were playing week in week out, and you were like the future of the club. You know what I mean? Like that was you were one of the futures of the club. I would argue and say you were a decent player. But for you to say you didn't really enjoy it is another big step. Like, because it took me until now, like, I'm not even joking, it took me till right now to realize that football is an enjoyment for me. Like, it is an enjoyment. I've,
yeah,
I've always enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed football. Like, I promise I've always enjoyed it. But I feel like it was always a thing where I thought I had to do it. I feel like I had to do it. I enjoyed when I was there, but it felt like I had to do it. It's only realized now that I realize how much football helps me. Like football helps me as a person. Football grows me as a person, and it's a release for me. But I've only took me to now to realize that. Mate, I used to think that I was going to be the next big thing until last season. Mate, until last season,
yeah,
I used to. Mate, I'm not even joking. Last season, I went from club to club. Now I stayed at Balmackay for a few years, but as a kid, I went from club to club, trying to get the next big club, trying to get the next. And then when I got the obviously I had a bit of time to cleanse Once I went to Glens, I went to Balmackage, and I just sort of settled there for a few years. But I was at Balmackage, and I always wanted to play for the first team. I always wanted to play for the first. It was happening sometimes, don't get me wrong, it was, but I always wanted to play for the first. Why? Because I was from Balmackage. I'm from Balmackage. I'm from the area. All our mates play there, and to play for the first, you were looked upon as like a almost like a star. You were like, I mean,
Yeah,
everyone I love the club, I love that about Balmackay. Everybody loves the club. They love playing, and there's passion, like it's passion at the club, and that's why I wanted to play for the first team. But it only took me till now to realize that like there's more to football than that, in my opinion. Like there's a lot more to football than that for me. Now people want to push on 100%, but for what football does for me is different. It's an enjoyment. So now I play for enjoyment. I know why I play. It's to enjoy it. It's to go out, kick a ball with the mates, when I'm on the pitch, give it my all. But it's not about being, the next Ronaldo. It's about going on, give it my all, playing well, and being a release from a busy schedule I've got at the minute. But it took me a while to realize that, mate. Honestly, like a few years ago, I was an absolute dick on the pitch, mate. I was getting sent off. I was slobbering at people. I was calling the manager this, and it was all because I thought it was something better than what it was. So
yeah.
for you at a young age to realize that at 16, it took me 5 years more than you to realize that, and that's a lot. Like I take my hat off to you to realize that. So at that young age, you're 16, you start playing football, and you went completely against the grain. You weren't drinking. You weren't drinking at
No.
that age. You weren't drinking. So what was your sort of your go-to?
Most people will probably think, oh, blah blah. It was to do with the fitness why I wasn't drinking. Obviously, that's what your audience is, but that's another thing that I go against the agreement. I don't go to a gym. I don't run. I don't do none of that because I don't enjoy it. It's as simple as that. I don't enjoy it. So none of it was to do with fitness or to improve my life. That was just for me to do what I wanted.
Yeah,
That was it. Like I know that sounds bad, but like or just simpler, obviously, but I just some of it was to do with money, yeah. At the time I look back now and I valued money over sometimes my friendships and this and that. But a lot of it again I'll go back to felt forced. A lot of the friendships I thought, and I'll tell you this, I couldn't have a conversation with you the way we're having now if you were sober. 5 years ago or 4 years ago, I didn't really like to talk to you 4 or 5 years ago because of you were a totally you weren't the same person who I was mates with, and I found that with a lot of people of when we were sober, I just um it just felt forced on them like and me. Whether when they were pissed, they would have came they would have come over and be like, all right, mate, like I've not seen you in ages and this and that. Whether when I seen them like out and about, they would have been like, all right, and then just walked on. Same as me, like I have no issue in that, but but I didn't want to seem like I didn't want to be that person that acted one way and then acted a totally different way. And and I felt like if you took the drink out of the equation, then you're just the same person all the time, which
uh,
I think is the best way to be.
definitely. Me and you had a chat about this recently. Like that's we had a chat, and
Yeah,
you were honest. And you said that the years ago I wasn't the same person. I wasn't. I know I wasn't. And there was a stage where probably I think everybody like fell into that circle. Everybody fell into that circle, and they lost who they were. They really lost who they were, and it's only took me probably the last sort of probably year, maybe just over that, to really come out of that. I've always coached, I've always been into that, which we'll get into in a minute because me and you obviously had a stint at coaching together, which I enjoyed. But either way, like
yeah,
I was different. I know I was, and it's only looking back now. And again, like it's huge credit to yourself because nobody apart from you at that age was making claims like that. Nobody was like nobody, no one at our age was making
yeah,
claims saying they didn't want to drink. Maybe one or two more, but that was really it. Like you didn't make those claims, or sorry, you did make those claims, and everybody else just went with the grain. So it's to reiterate what you've done from a young age, being different, be different. I would love to see in 20 years' time what's happened because you know, I respect what you've done, and you're only in terms of your actual career, it's only beginning. Your work career is only beginning. So I love to see what happens. So one thing I want to touch on there, money. Something that always struck me about you is money. From a young age, you love to spend money on clothes.
Yeah, yeah,
Like like you love.
yeah. That would be sorry. That would be my big thing. Like I have a problem. Like uh, I don't go to Ladbrokes. I don't go this and that. But I like I have a problem with buying clothes, with hats, with shoes, with it all. But I just want to go back, see to my point, because this is almost like an like like an odd one out. And why I stopped the party and stopped see going out was because there was actually an influence. There was a, we were all out one night, and we were young, all this stuff, and things they got out of hand, and my name was put at the top of the list for doing something bad, right? For doing something, and fingers were pointed at me. Like I'm not gonna say what happened, what this, but if you know, you know, you know. And fingers were pointed at me, and repercussions were said were going to happen. Police might have been involved, this and that. Well, there's been some instances, but one was sober. Everyone knows the first one. That was a bit younger, but this second one was at a party, and it was me just showing off, wanting to be like the life and soul of the party and this and that, which wasn't me, by the way. If I did, if I wasn't on the drink, it wouldn't have happened. So after that incident, it was just a big, it was just like wise up, like in my head, like wise up. And one thing I hated as well, which really influenced me, was see when you're on a night out and somebody comes, say he comes up to you the next day and goes, "Oh mate, like you want to see what you were doing, or you want to see what you're saying." Mate, I hate that. So the only way to take it out and to not have to face that or to not have to do it is just not drink.
Just cut
You
it
know
by
what
the
I mean?
throat. Cut it by the throat.
Yeah. My main thing is the commune is to remain consistent. And for me, to drink and to go outside of my character, I don't. I'm not comfortable with it.
Definitely, we're not going to go into detail on what happened, but a couple of things happened at a young age, and I suppose that's what sort of maybe pushed you off the drinking thing. But at the same time, I wouldn't say you were a big drinker before that, Mac. Like I really
No,
wouldn't.
never, no,
Like
never.
you showed up once and every so often with a drink, which again was just different. Like you showed up once every so often with a drink. And another thing from a young age, you like basketball. Nobody else liked basketball.
Yeah,
Like, and that was just different. There's so many wee things that I could touch on and say this is why you done this differently and this why you done that. But the thing that if anybody's listening to this, there's one thing that's from me that strikes me about Mac is he's always done things differently. And I think the reason why people don't do things differently is because they're scared of what other people will say, what other people will think. So, did you ever have thoughts, or were you ever worried about what other people were thinking about you, what people were saying about you, or did you ever care?
you see when people say I don't care what people think of me or say about me, it's no shit. Like everybody cares, but it's just how you cope with it. You know, it's like, well, um, like if someone goes, "Oh mate, like I like that hat or whatever," or I like them shoes, I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, yeah, blah blah blah." But somebody goes, "Oh, I don't like them." My thought is, yeah, it's because you don't understand it, or it's because so it's not like I don't look at it like offensively. I'm just like, it's just not their taste. And with the beard, like a lot of people have said about it, like I mean, loads said like it looks bad, Paris, this and that, blah blah blah. But I've never once thought of shaving it because again, it's not what I wanted. Yes, sometimes you're annoyed if somebody says something, but I don't think that you should act. I think you should think about it and be like, well, if they say it, then just see it from their point of view. So if they say something, say to you, or if they laugh at you, or if they make fun of you, look at it from their opinion. and look at it like look at them as an individual and be like, oh well, why did they say that, or why did they do that? See their point of view and just be like, well, my point of view like isn't the same. That's just the way it is. So why act on their point of view? Because they're not going to act on your point of view. You know what I mean? So I think with that is you do get annoyed, yes, but I wouldn't act on what people say. Like I wouldn't change my behavior based on what other people think.
Brilliant. I think that's a powerful message. It's a really powerful message. In fact, like for the first time in my life, I've started to get shit on social media because I've been posting a lot. Like people text me and all. Not made them not loads of people or whatever, but I'm
Yeah,
starting to, people are texting me, call me this, call me that, and it's one of those things. Like you said, you have to look at their point of view. You know, they're only trying to do their best. What they think's best is saying that at that moment in time, and it's how you react. That's it. It's how you react. And there's something that I talk about often is, especially at the minute with the gyms reopening, people are really scared about the gym. People are so scared about the gym. I'm not saying I know you didn't like the gym, I don't mean that, but people are actually
yeah,
anxious. People are anxious to walk into the gym floor. Why? Because they're scared of what other people are thinking. They're scared of what someone else might say to their friend. But what you said there was you have to think about their point of view. Where are they coming from? The reason is they're so insecure about what's going on in their life. They're so insecure about what they're
yeah,
wearing, and it's nothing to do with you. It's just all a cover up, not a cover up, but it's just all a front. Like the reason is, tell you now, there, you know the. What we're trying to think if we could or not. So like a rich man doesn't have to tell you there's rich. So what I mean by that is someone who's really rich doesn't have to show you his car. So if somebody's sitting in the gym and if somebody's so secure about themselves, they're not going to care about you. They're not going to say anything about you. I don't know if that was the best analogy to use, but I think it gets across what I'm trying to get. If someone's in the gym who is so secure about themselves, they don't really care. They're not going to even look at you. But if somebody's in there being really who's so insecure, they're the one who's going to say something. That's it. Do you know what I mean? They have to
yeah,
show their weaknesses by saying something, but the ones who don't is the ones who have actually got their shit together. You know what I mean? So I think that's a powerful message that you don't actually need to care what other people think, but what you said at the very, very start, anybody who says that they don't take it on to heart is full of it. See what someone texts me initially, no, I'm getting okay, but so initially I'm like, it takes a sting out of you, but then I'm like,
yeah.
right, but then I'm like, well, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to carry doing what I'm doing. Like it doesn't make a difference. It's only someone's
Uh,
opinion. So that's a powerful message, and I know that there's people watching this that can take a lot from that 100%. And the reward from you, the reward of you not listening to other people is being happy. Would you agree?
yeah, like I don't think about things too much or like worry about things. So I don't really like have a worry. You know, my worries are so small. So like for example, some like an old couple like I had to go to their house to do like a wee bit of work, and this this started calling me, see Bin Laden and this and that, and saying oh this and that, and first meeting just started to make fun of me, this and that. And I went home that night and I was like, was there a need? Like, was there a need? But and then over the week, so this is maybe this Saturday, then I came to the Wednesday. And by the Wednesday, I realized that they weren't saying it through a malicious way. They were saying it through a joke way. Yes, they shouldn't have said it. Yes, it's offensive. Yes, some people would obviously they don't know my background. I'm not saying that, but you know, it's like assuming almost. But it's like by Wednesday I realized that it didn't come in a malicious way. Therefore, then there's no need to worry about it anymore. You know what I mean?
I think sometimes we're lucky from the environment we grew up in. We take it for granted sometimes, but see, growing up in the estate, growing up, with other lads, growing up
Yeah,
taking stick left, right, and center. Our school, like things like that sort of culture helps us a lot, I think, because
yeah,
we know how to take it, and we know that when people are taking it in joke, but some people don't. And I feel
yeah,
like your character has been built up for years.
yeah,
Your character's been built from a young age, and let's say you didn't go through anything. I'm not saying you went through a lot of hard times, but just as a kid growing up, where we grew up, kicking the ball about, being lads, all that sort of stuff. if you didn't go through that, then when someone said that to you, then you'd probably take it a lot thicker. Do you know what I mean? So we take it for granted, those little things in our environment growing up. Whereas another person who maybe grew up on a farm, who didn't have neighbors, they come in and they could say something in school, they go home crying. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not having
So
to go at them.
environment's massive. The environment, like you're shaped by your environment, you're made by your environment. So if you're there with just your mom and dad, and if you're like a single child, and if they tell you, oh, you're beautiful, and this and that, you're going to be a model or whatever, and you're going to be a model, this and that. So your whole life you have in your head that's the way like everybody views you, you know.
Yeah.
Then when you get told that you're not that, that's basically your world ended. Like as an example, whether like as you said, like when you go out here, like you're told, hi, you're fat, you're shit. What's them trainers? What's that? And then like you say something back, and then that's it done. Then if you do take it thick, it's almost worse
Yeah.
because because then nobody wants to have a joke with you. Like nobody wants to be with that person who can't have a laugh or he can't take it. So environment's massive, but at the
Environment.
same time, I do think that it's you do need an understanding of others to see where their comment has came from. I think you need to take everything with a pinch of salt. I do.
Environment's everything. Environment is absolutely everything. Like I often say this, why does people from our and I by the way, before I go into this subject, I'm not having to go with people, but this is just a sort of like example I give. The Bluebell, where everyone our age drinks. And everybody in there typically, they have a job that they Monday to Friday, they enjoy it. They enjoy their job, maybe. Most of them probably actually fucking don't. But they have their job, and then they go to the bar at the weekend and get blinded. Us seeing that as a young age, we want to do that. We want to do that. But by the way, I'm just saying, people love that. So they absolutely love that. People enjoy that. I done it for years. There's nothing wrong with it. But let's flip it. What if you had in the Bluebell, you had 15 businessmen who own their own business and they showed up once every so often for a few games of pool and a couple of beers, a couple of pints. Suddenly you'd have us looking at them boys going, right, where am I starting my first business? Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
think it's so important. Your environment is absolutely everything. And surround yourself better people. We've said this a couple of times throughout the chat. Like, you have to surround yourself with better people. And there's a thing I heard actually a fellow Jay Aldrin saying yesterday. Surround yourself with people who are 30% below you, 30% at your own sort of rate, and the rest, which is what, 40%, or yeah, 40% above you. So the 40% above you can learn off. You can try to get to that level. You have to up your game. 30% at your level, you want to see that you are playing at a higher level than them. And the
yeah.
ones below you, you want to beat them. You want to, almost push them aside. It sounds pretty harsh, but that's the truth. And I think that's a really, really good way to look at it, which is crazy. And yeah, environment's everything. So something I want to chat about, Mac. I want to move on a little bit, is because we and you obviously had a stint together last year coaching.
Yeah.
So that was something that was new to you. What was your experience?
Um, yes, it was good. Um, I didn't step out of my comfort zone in a way of I did, but I didn't go in there and fake it and start shouting and screaming and telling boys what to do and and almost put on a persona of this big leader who leads. Like that's not me. So I went in quiet, looked, tried to get to know the boys first, as I would, and any other situation. And I think I I found it hard to go into a group and almost be like, well, look, like I'm here because at the end of the day, like they don't need to listen to me. So I find it hard for me to get my to sort of be fine with saying stuff, knowing that it might be accepted.
Yeah. I think obviously the lot. So for anyone that doesn't know, me and you were coaching our 19s
Yeah,
last year. I took them for a season before that, and one thing that like you said, that is obvious about the lads is they're at that age where they're 18, 19,
yeah,
17.
they can think for themselves now. Yeah, I know what I mean.
they can think for themselves, but I think it's a really good opportunity. Like, obviously, I've just stepped away from it, so have you, due to personal reasons. Just not being able to commit, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, I loved every minute with those lads, and with you coming in, we
Yeah.
looked things at a different angle. We really changed things at a different angle. Excuse me. And the reason that I asked you to come on board is because I know you think differently. You weren't going to be like every other coach out there. You're going to see things differently on the pitch that other people didn't see, and you're going to use that to help the lads. So what we done and what we started doing was video analysis with those lads, which would have been a completely different kettle of fish to what they've ever dealt with before, and probably, well, I don't know. They'll probably do a bit a lot now. To be fair, the club sort of stepped up their levels, which is great. So that was great. We enjoyed that. We loved that. So was there never a point in that throughout the short COVID season? Was there a point for that you were going, this isn't me?
Yeah, there was a night where you were away to do like your personal stuff, and me and Tom, and then Tom had to leave, and it was very unprepared, and I was left to coach the boys by myself, and I heard a few comments being like, "It's a shit. Why am I here?" Blah blah blah, which I would say the same thing. You know, it's not an offense to me, and I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how to react. I almost was being like Spurs in a way of I was I didn't take charge of the session. I was reacting to the session. So I was reacting to players instead of me being the focal point and saying, well, if it's shit, it doesn't matter. This will be to help you. I was listening to what they were saying and being influenced. And then at the end, I showed a bit of weakness and apologized for the session. See, being bad, that basically he say to them, look, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I went home and I thought about it and I went, yo, I'm not up this. It, that's as simple as that. Started overthinking it. I was like, yeah, I'm not up this. Simple as that. I'm like, I can't do it. Then some of the boys sent me a text. I was like, blah, blah. And then the next session. So I actually thanked them because if it wasn't for them texts and them being like, oh, you're not that bad or whatever, I reckon I just would have walked away from that because I felt that I couldn't give them what they needed. So if I was left by myself, I didn't have the adequate and the sufficient skill set to then provide them what they wanted there for. Then I felt like I wasn't doing a job.
Like, see, that's one thing I felt bad about last season. We'll say season, but it was last season. I know we didn't play often. Was I couldn't give it my all. I couldn't commit fully. I was there as soon as much as I could, but there was probably, I would say, at least twice, three times a month I wasn't there, and that's why I stepped down this year because my circumstances, personal, has in terms of like productivity, in terms of my schedule, has probably went in tenfold, which the chances of me being able to make training and give it my all was slim. So I do apologize for that. But at the same time, like, you know, you were never there to coach. You were there to do your bit in
No.
terms of the opposite, and you were free in your deep end. You really were. And like, for anyone that hasn't coached before, or anybody that has, in fact, you'll know how hard it is to jump into a session. Never mind 18 under 19s, to jump into any session is tough, especially once you haven't coached. Especially even when you have coached, it is tough. So it was a hard task you had to do there. So don't, first of all, obviously not beat yourself up. But I know it's a year on now, so you're probably not beating yourself
Yeah,
up.
no.
But like, that's what I was going to ask you, because you've obviously said for a while you didn't do things that didn't feel right. You've said that. So then that coaching time, when you said that it didn't work out, I was going to ask you why I didn't step away, but it was almost a bit of confidence booster. But one thing you said there was, you said sorry to lads and you let yourself down. I would reverse that. You didn't let
Yeah.
yourself down. You didn't let your ego get to you. Your ego would have told you to man up. Your ego would have told you to walk away with your head, call the players shit. Your ego would have told you that's not your fault, but your ego dropped and your ego said sorry.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, mate. I really don't. You're honest. The players will respect that. That will build more of a relationship, a person
Yeah.
to person relationship, than you saying, lads, why are you not doing that? And a lot of people do that. Why? Because it's their ego. So that's just something I want to touch on. So, like, mate, I want to just sum it up in one thing. Because we've obviously we've talked about so much, man. I loved it. Throughout your last sort of 21 years on planet Earth, and if there's one thing that you live by or one thing that you go by, what would it be?
That's a hard question. Whatever you want to do, do it. I know that sounds cringy, but not to the point where like I wouldn't go, like I'm in the mood to get a mohawk and just whack the mohawk off. Yeah, I know what I mean. But just to be yourself and to do whatever you want to do, like I wouldn't read into things too much, wouldn't do anything. Just if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Not everything will feel right though. Not everything will feel right. But if you can't see an end goal of why you're doing it, don't be doing it.
Class, man. I take that's a really powerful message. Like, that's a powerful message. I agree. There's obviously parts which you touched on. I do believe that there's times when you feel that every part of your body's telling you not to do it. That's when you need to do it. Sometimes I do believe that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's no perceived benefit in the end, then
Yeah, just don't be doing it.
there's, what I mean, there's no point doing it. Like, you give a couple of good examples, which is classmate. So it's a really powerful message. Be yourself, do what you want to do, and you'll get there. One last thing I want to touch on, and this is just to finish it off. What's influenced you?
Um, what's influenced me in what way?
Well, see, it's a hard question, but the reason I ask is because everybody at our age has the influence of driving a Lamborghini, of doing this, or doing whatever,
Oh no,
but like
nah.
doing those sort of things because of social media, or wanting to be a footballer because of say footballer. But then I look at you and go, what's influenced you? Like, not in a bad way, but in a good way. Then what's influenced you to be the person you are? Is there something? Is it maybe a family member?
My granda probably. Um, Almost to the point where maybe the drinking and not going out as much and calming down and this and that was from him, sitting with him, almost taking like an old person's approach. The things like the way he is, but there's also certain elements of what he does I don't like, so I wouldn't just take everything from him. But I would say like influences is a big word, as in there's nobody's life that I look at and go, all right, I want that life. Like influences to me would be like look at somebody and what they were. Like I'd take influence from that outfit and then put my own on it. But I wouldn't really have an influence for life. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't look at just say somebody like I don't even you see what I mean? Like I can't even give a very realistic example to say like Elon Musk and be like, I want to be that rich. Because for me now, realizing that I'm far in a better place than obviously we touched on with me wanting money and caring about money, and now money's nothing to me, not nothing, but it's not valued to me now.
Yeah.
Like it's for me to get things, but not just to have loads of it. I would say that I don't have an influence for me to live a certain way.
Believe it or not, Mac, that was a trick question. So the reason I asked that because, you know, if you had an influence, then you'd be living someone else's life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I don't have one.
you live your own life, and
Yeah,
you answered that, and you answered that answer in the purest. I strongly believe that most people are influenced by certain things, but you know, maybe the influences you are more on a lower level, and you just let yourself come through at such a young age. That's powerful, mate. It really is. Like, I'm influenced by things. I know I am 100%, and I'm fully aware of that. I don't hide it either. Like, I know what I'm influenced by, and it's not money. By the way, it's not money. Money means a lot to me because there's things I ain't gonna do with money. In terms of not materialistic things, it's more of like a case of impacting more people. But it's not, things like money, things like materialistic things don't influence me, but it's more seeing what people's done and seeing how I can do it, or seeing what I can
yeah,
take off them influences me, and it sort of motivates me. It drives me. Like, I see people who have done a very similar thing, which drives me. But look, you're living your life authentically, authentic,
authentically. Yeah.
Authentically, mate. I was going to say authentically, but I think they're both sort of similar anyway. Either way, mate, look, I really appreciate you coming on. I know people who listen to this right now, or whatever listening back to this, are going to get a lot from it because we've shared a lot of value, and I appreciate you coming on. So, look, I'm not even gonna say if anybody wants to hear more from you, check you out on social media because you're.
There's no point. There's no point. I think there's one photo on Instagram, and that's it. That's it. Nah, there's no point.
Class, man. Look, I love it. Look, everybody, I would love you to share this with your friends because this podcast is absolutely powerful. You can find me on social media. The link will be in the description, I hope. Anyway, look, Mac, I will chat to you very, very soon.